You think I'll let you zone?
Baka.
Lost Media covers tons of media types, and that includes movies. You'd think big budget projects like those would never be lost, but you'd be surprised at how many get lost to time at varying stages of production, or just flat out shelved or canned because it went nowhere or it was having trouble with funds and a dash of corporate meddling. Here are 5 lost pieces of film media. Bakugan is a toy series released by Sega Toys and Spin Master in 2006. The success of the toys spawned a few anime series by the same name from 2007 to 2012. December 2010, an announcement was made that a live-action Bakugan film was in the works as a joint project between Universal Pictures and Spin Master. The director was announced as Harold Zort, who worked on films like the 2010 Karate Kid remake with Scott Stuper and Spin Master's Ronan Harry as producers. Spin Master's fourth quarter 2017 financial results conference call, while discussing the 2019 Bakugan franchise reboot, Harry stated that the company is also working on potentially trying to get a movie out in the next few years. Unfortunately, neither Harold, Spin Master, or Universal Pictures or the people in their camps have confirmed this to be true, and there's no credible source of any information or mention of this alleged Bakugan live-action film being worked on since the supposed announcement back in 2010. The Disney film Alice in Wonderland has been planned out since the 1930s as the first ever animated film by Disney. Ultimately, the film was not released until the year 1951. There were many different drafts of the film throughout the years, but probably the most notable one was the 1939 draft. That draft had artwork done by the talented British artist David Hall, a script by Al Perkins, and songs by Frank Churchill. Walt ultimately turned down the 1939 draft as the characters of Wonderland looked far too monstrous for his taste and were hard to animate. The tone of this version of the story was incredibly grim and frightening, with the inhabitants of Wonderland being outright murderous and evil towards Alice. Disney instead went for a lighter, more modern approach to the final film. However, pieces of the early 1939 version emerged from time to time in the final version of the film. The ending to the film was very dark, as in the garden, Alice sees gardening equipment operating by itself. Just before the White Rabbit bugles for the Queen of Hearts, croquet begins and everyone in Wonderland participates. A royal procession of doom leads to a dark trial, where Alice is put on trial for unknown reasons. She watches as the Cheshire Cat, Mad Hatter, and March Hare sentence the Knave of Hearts to being blown to bits. Alice is then sent on the run but is captured by the Queen and then put to the guillotine. Just as the blade falls down, she wakes up from her nightmare and back in her world. Cool World was an early animated live-action hybrid movie directed by Ralph Bakshi, which tells the story about Jack Deebs, a cartoonist who escapes prison and accidentally enters Cool World, a comic book he created during his imprisonment. Prior to his entrance, another man named Frank Harris had entered Cool World in 1945 due to a cartoon's invention to bridge between Cool World and the real world. Ralph, prior to Cool World, he had a long list of top-selling animated films: Fritz the Cat, Heavy Traffic, and Coonskin. In 1990, 7 years after his last film release, he decided it was time to make another. In the original screenplay, the protagonist is Debbie Dallas, a young woman who was parented by a doodle and a human. Debbie, who was born as an animated flesh hybrid, considers herself a freak and searches to kill her own father that had caused her deformity and abandoned her. During production, producer Frank Mancuso Jr. had Ralph's screenplay rewritten in secret, which didn't resemble the original pitch at all. Frank, who is best known for his Friday the 13th franchise, felt he wanted to distance himself from the horror genre. After the rewrite, Ralph and Frank's differences got the better of them, leading to a physical fight, which then led to Paramount threatening to sue Ralph unless they finished the film. Cool World bombed and was considered Ralph's worst film, with the art and Brad Pitt being the best parts. It is currently unknown if the original screenplay still exists, but there is a 28-page storyboard of the original pitch, and Holly looks more like a punk street girl than the Marilyn Monroe idea in the final version. Cats Don't Dance is a 1997 animated film produced by Turner Feature Animation. The film was a box office flop despite its critical success, and it was the only film to be produced by Turner Feature Animation before the Warner Brothers Turner merger in 1996. The film was originally intended to star Michael Jackson and would have revolved around the stray cats that live among the sets and studio backlots. It would have incorporated a mix of live action and CGI. However, after Jackson dropped out in 1994, Turner acquired the script, and after a lot of studio mandates, changes in concepts, and studio head screw-overs, the film was released and bombed due to studio heads not wanting the animated feature to outshine Quest for Camelot in 1998. Sony Pictures announced that an adaptation to Sony Interactive Entertainment's franchise Sly Cooper was in production. The movie was first announced by Blockade Entertainment producer Brad Foxhoven. It was being directed by Kevin Monroe, who was also directing the Ratchet & Clank film, and was being animated by Studio Rainmaker Entertainment. There was an original 2016 release date announced for the movie. At WonderCon 2016, Monroe stated that the film had yet to enter production and doubted it would be released later that year. On October 26, 2016, in a now deleted tweet by Monroe, he said that he hadn't worked on it in over a year and a half. Monroe would later move on to work on a Chinese Trolls film. The commercial failure of the Ratchet & Clank film, Cartoon Brew editor Amid Amity expressed doubt that Sly Cooper would ever be completed. After Rainmaker Entertainment left the film, it was announced that it was going to be retrofitted into a television series. Technicolor Animation Productions and PGS Entertainment would have been involved with the project. The series would have been 52 11-minute episodes, with half scheduled to premiere in October of 2019 and the remaining in July of 2020. Currently, there is no news of any network that would pick it up. However, as of 2022, the series has not premiered and is currently believed to be in development hell or outright canceled. That should do it for this volume of Lost Media. In the comments below, tell me what I should look into next. Until then, stay safe guys, and I'll see you in the next video.
Hey, glad you could make it, but if you could be so kind as to leave a comment and maybe subscribe so we can keep the lights on. Thanks.